We continue tonight with our in-depth look at domestic violence. Last night, we showed you the startling numbers. Law enforcement agencies averaging a domestic violence call every 2 hours on every shift.
We know that it's happening. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the cycle of abuse, how victims fall into these bad relationships, and how hard it can be to get out of them.
Yeah, what is the cycle, right? And how does it play out in a victim's life? Well, KRCR News Channel 7's Madison Wade joins us live with that. Madison.
Yeah, Jennifer, Allison, good evening. Here is just one representation of the cycle of violence. First, the tension builds. That's when the abuser yells and criticizes their victim. Then it goes right on to the explosion stage. That's when the actual violence happens, whether it be physical, verbal, or mental. And then it goes on to the honeymoon stage. It sounds exactly like what it is. The abuser apologizes, buys their partner gifts, and promises never to abuse again. And of course, this again called the honeymoon stage. Then everything just keeps cycling. Well, I spoke with a woman who lived this cycle for years with more than one person. For purposes of this story, her name is Hannah. She recently lived at one safe place, and we spoke with her at lengths about her life, her story, how she ended up there. And tonight she's offering advice for anyone else living in this cycle of violence. Her message: there is help.
Well, I'm almost 33. I have 3 kids. One I put up for adoption, and I've been through a lot of abuse my whole life.
Hannah checked into one safe place a few months ago, but if you ask her about her life before, it was very different.
You know, I still have some insecurities, but it's not like it was before because I've felt broken.
Hannah says she has been around abuse since she was 4 years old. Raised by a mother she says was a drug addict. Hannah also says she was molested as a child.
And so when I was a teenager, I became an addict and I started using a lot. And then I got with this guy who I had a baby with, and he suffocated my baby when he was 4 months old. And my son, and he's in a wheelchair now, and he has epilepsy and cerebral palsy, and he's blind, and he's pretty messed up.
Hannah put her son up for adoption because she thought that was the right thing to do for him. She went back to the man who abused her son, but eventually she ended that relationship and married a different man and had 2 other children. But she says he was an abuser too. They would fight, things would get better, then worse again, until she finally said enough is enough.
After a fight I had with my husband, I was like, you know what? I need to do something. My kids deserve better, and I can't have my kids living the same life I did. It's not fair. And so I came in here barely alive, and I'm like, I need some help bad. And I just did it. Barely had the strength, but I did it.
It's a story heard time and time again inside the walls of one safe place. Hannah had been stuck in the cycle of abuse.
You get so used to it that you let yourself be down, because then you start feeling like you're that person when you're really not. And so then you just let the cycle keep going and going until you feel like you're dead inside. And when you feel like you want to die, then you almost let it happen. You basically it just keeps going until you finally have had so much and you're so done, then you finally do something about it.
Hannah tells me for her, abuse was normal. It was a part of her everyday life.
I was really depressed when I came here. I was so broken. I was so broken. Like, I had hard times getting out of bed, had hard times taking showers because I just felt so heavy, and I would cry all the time.
But she says there was always a voice in the back of her mind, one she couldn't ignore.
I always knew it was wrong. I just didn't know how to speak up for myself.
So how do you speak up for yourself now?
I have help. At One Safe Place, I talk to people and they help. The counselors here help me, you know, set boundaries and stuff, because I never had boundaries before.
Hannah says One Safe Place saved her life.
It gave me a chance to rest my head, and so I don't have to fight anymore. And I can find peace and find who I am, so I can be not the angry person I was anymore with all the anger about my past. And finally, I get to talk about it, and I get to talk about it to help other people, and I can finally let my past go.
Through all of this, Hannah has learned to let go, to forgive those who have hurt her, and accept herself for who she is. A strong woman with a support system that will never leave her side.
You don't want to be a martyr, you don't want to be a victim anymore, and you don't want your kids to be in it, and you don't want yourself to be in it anymore, because you'll lose yourself and you'll just die inside. And you don't want to die anymore, you want life.
Hannah tells me she wants to go to Visions of the Cross to get a little more stability with her past addiction, and then she wants to work for One Safe Place. She says without their services, she doesn't know where she would be right now. And if you are a victim of abuse, or if you know anyone else who's a victim of abuse, you can call the One Safe Place hotline number. Their number is 530-244-0117. Madison Wade, KRCR, News Channel 7.